Hey guys, welcome to another episode of McMahon on Keys. This is a special episode, so I want to take just a minute and set it up for you. I met Darran Smith in 1993. At the time, he was working with an up-and-coming artist. They had not yet broken through on radio. They did not have any hits, but they were looking for a piano player. So Darran came to see me at a club. I did not know he was there. And he would offer me the opportunity to audition and then hire me to join him and play with Tim McGraw. Darran was our band leader. He is my friend. And he co-produced a lot of the biggest hits that I played as a part of the Dancehall Doctors, including Live Like You Were Dying, My Kind of Rain, Real Good Man, and a number of others. So Darran is with us this week. He's also going to share with us an original song called I Tried. And with no further ado, here is our conversation with my friend, Darran Smith.
I remember we played a county fair somewhere and then went to the Moose Lodge and played. Yeah. And I remember there was a video. Tim was laying in the back of the bus, and I go, "What you doing?" And he goes, "Nothing." He goes, "Did you hear?" And I go, "What?" "We sold the Moose Lodge smooth out." I'm like,
this is with Hit Records.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. Hey guys, my name is Jeff McMahon, and I play the piano for people. I've played on some big records, played on some big stages, and I've played with some big stars. Big or small, they're all the same. Taking someone with a dream, playing their song, and trying to get them further up the ladder. So that's what we'll do here. Have a conversation, maybe shine a light, and play some music. And I'll be on piano. This is McMahon on keys.
Well, what do we talk about today, Joe?
Well, you were just finding out that I did not do music in college.
No,
did you think I did music in college?
I thought you played through college. I didn't know exactly what you were majoring in,
right?
But I thought you played.
Oh, no, I played really? All the time.
Well, no, I mean, I guess I thought you played through high school on into college. Mm-hmm. With like bands as you were going along. No,
my first band. I played piano for the stage band, the jazz band in school.
Yeah.
Which was where I kind of got to first exercise improvising, playing solos for 12 measures or whatever within the band. But I didn't know guitar players. I didn't know bass players in high school. When I went to college, I met those guys. And, one of the first players that I ever played with, like band stuff, was Daryl Dodd.
Yeah.
Who went to Baylor.
That's a good one to start out with. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, were you ever jealous of the marching band?
No.
Because there's not much room to carry a piano as you're marching. Or a guitar. There's not. I never got to do it either. I guess you could play xylophone. You know, it's kind of close to piano.
Yeah,
but there's really nothing close unless you plucked a fiddle or something. You know.
Yeah. Who wants to play a fiddle?
I know fiddles suck.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're having problems with that.
So what you were saying was there's two different schools of music.
Yeah, there is. In Nashville seems like now. Yeah.
There's Belmont.
There's Belmont. I've met more people from Belmont,
right?
Musicians that are now hitting the bars and the different scenes, up and coming. I bet when you watch the CMAs now, I bet half of those players.
Yeah.
Those young guys that are up there are Belmont, either grads or been to Belmont.
Right.
And then you have the honky tonk viewers, honky tonk university. There are people like more our age that grew up, you know, in the honky tonks, and
Right.
that's where we learned our trade. You know,
Sure.
how to, you know, entertain a crowd for 5 hours a night, 6 nights a week, and be happy to make $300. You know, and
Right. Right.
you know, I mean, and still do it when you come to Nashville. You know, because
Now, is that what you? I mean,
That's what
when you're
I-
saying honky tonk. You see, I remember the stories about the pool hall.
oh yeah,
Now, were you playing music in that too?
oh yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah, yeah.
Because I didn't really start playing in bands until I was really out of college. My
Well-
first real country band wasn't until I was 23.
Really, I see. My folks owned a bar, so
Right.
they had pool tables, and it was a neighborhood. It was like a real hillbilly Cheers.
Mhm.
You know, everybody knew each other, and so I played there. You know, when I was 13.
Right.
You know, and so that's where I, you know, put a band together with some of my friends from school. Marty Henderson was one of my best friends from school, and we both started out playing guitar,
Mhm.
and we actually played in a talent show at school, and we played Jeremiah Was a Bullfrog,
Right. Right.
and we actually won, and so then we found a little drummer guy from a little town that was close to ours, and so we started a little 3-piece band and started playing at my mom and dad's bar,
Right.
and that's kind of where it started, you know, for me, probably 12, 13 years old. Now I started playing guitar at 8, but
Wow.
it was so funny because I, you know, you're talking about the 70s, you
Right.
know.
Right.
So, and I'm growing up. I live in a little small town outside of a bigger town,
Mhm.
which is Eudora, is where I lived and went to school. But I hung out in Lawrence, Kansas.
Right.
So it's a college town, Kansas University. So, and during the 70s, so the music store, you go down to the music store and, you know, it's a bunch of hippies hanging out, you know. And actually my first teacher, her name was Judy, and she was like this hippie chick, flower girl. You know, she taught me my chords, and, you know, I'm playing like Shoe Fly Shoe and
Right.
This Land Is Your Land. And so I learned all my chords, and then she goes, okay, that's all I can do for you. You know,
Mhm.
I suggest your next thing is music theory
Okay.
with this real studious guy who wanted me to scale. And I'm like, I hate this. I hate going da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na.
So did you just bypass all that?
So yeah, I said, I don't want to do this. So I just went home, and for the next, I guess would have been 3 or 4 years, listened to records and,
Right.
you know, listened to the radio and played along with records. And because, you know, we didn't have cassettes or anything back then, really.
What were some of those early records you were playing to?
You know, early Allman Brothers,
Yeah.
Elton John, you know, was big, you know, Benny in it, you know, it's not much guitar in it, but it was cool to learn the chords, you know,
Right.
and figure out how it would. And then there was that resurgence of the 50s back then too.
Oh yeah.
So I learned a lot of 50s music.
Now you
know.
talking about before, like the Stray Cats and
Yeah, before Stray Cats, this was like not almost to American Graffiti kind of thing.
well, Happy Days was on TV.
Yeah. Well, it was even before that, I
Okay.
think, that I would But see, my dad, he was hardcore country.
Right.
So I would listen to Jimmy Rogers or Ernest Tubb, anybody like that was straight hardcore, Webb Pierce and all this. My mom, she was more of she was more Italian, so she was more into Perry Como, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Bobby Vinton, people like that. So I kind of got that part of it too. So I was kind of weirded out. And then something came and slapped me right in the face, which was disco.
Did you slap it back?
Well, I tried, and thank God for Linda Ronstadt, the Aerosmith, the Eagles.
Yeah.
Thank God for those people because I played in a show band, it was called,
right,
which we had a girl singer, and we did "Ring My Bell," and
Anita Ward.
Boogie Oogie Oogie, and stuff like that. To where a guitar player, if he had a phaser pedal and an amp, and maybe a wah-wah, you could just sit there and play all night, waka waka waka.
Right.
And thank God that we did, Walk This Way, and Linda Ronstadt, Love Has No Pride. Some of that cool, what is it? I've been mistreated.
Yeah.
When will I be loved?
Yeah.
And that had some great guitar in it, and so thank God we did that stuff too, and threw it in there, because I'd have went nuts.
Well, see, that's one of the things about that music that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because I listen to people now, and they're talking about how wild it is that some of these country songs are, getting involved in the rock stuff and the pop stuff and back and forth.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, guys,
the
Bellamy Brothers were in the top 5.
Oh, absolutely.
In that, when you're talking, back in the 70s, and Kenny Rogers was cutting with Sheena Easton, and all that was happening back then.
Very much so. Very much so. It was for a guitar player, I think, especially, it was very hard to keep relevant, like Clapton. When Clapton came out, everybody was saying, Clapton, guitar god. He's a guitar god. And I'm hearing Lay Down Sally and going, I don't get it. I don't get it, I never put together Clapton, Cream, Layla, Derek and the Domino. I never put all that together, that was same guy.
Right.
I'm listening to the radio going, Lay Down Sally. Okay, it's a cool song, but, there's a lot of people that could whack that out,
Yeah.
I remember a friend of mine got us tickets to go see Clapton in Kansas City. And he started playing all these great songs, Dun, 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 dun. I'm like, why is he covering these songs, And then, Layla.
So how old are you at this time that you don't know?
Oh, I'm
you haven't
13, 14 years old, maybe 15, and just don't, in Midwest Kansas, you just don't think, plus I was playing athletics in school, I was playing football and wrestling and very little basketball. And, I had that going. So it was like, I wasn't really digging into music. It's just like, I heard it on the radio. That's Clapton. Okay. So that's the kind of stuff he does,
So when did you dig in?
When I went and heard Clapton and put it all together, I was like, and then watched him play unbelievable stuff, I was like, wow, this guy is,
Yeah,
he's like the top guy,
right.
So I started learning some more how he played with not so much speed, but with taste.
Right.
Because before I was like, you got to be, to impress anybody.
Right.
But then I realized that's where I kind of got into the taste part of it,
Just because you can do it doesn't mean that you should do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And especially when I moved to Nashville, I played my first day here. I played a session.
Now, you moved to Nashville when?
83.
Okay.
And I played a session. I had got talked to move here from a drummer friend who was a staff drummer at Polyfox Studios that had moved back to Kansas City to take care of his mother that was sick. He talked me into moving here.
Right.
So he had a session that day. They needed a guitar player. So I ended up going down and playing the worst songs that I've ever heard in my life.
Okay, now hang on. You and I have done some sessions together
that are pretty bad.
They're pretty bad. So it's worse than that.
Yes, because I'll tell you 2 reasons why. They were publishing songs, demos. One song was called Winkin' Blinkin' Slot Machines.
Okay.
And so we played it, and then they wanted me to sing these songs. Because at that time I was singing in a lot. And I tried to sing Winkin' Blinkin' Slot Machines, and they kept telling me, we need a more animated. We need a more animated. And I'm like, I can't get any more animated on this song. So, it was a bitter, kind of the music part, came off pretty easy, although they worked really fast here.
Right.
Because I had done sessions in Kansas City, where they just kind of play till they get it and lay it down. And, they don't really worry about studio time because there's not a lot of stuff, and there's stuff going on, but it's not like here.
Right. They're not trying to get you out so they can get the next thing in immediately.
Right. So, yeah, it was move fast, or, and I was told that, I'd already did my homework, learned the number system and all that, and learned. I was told if you don't get in there and do it the second time, then they call somebody else. So the music part went all right, but the singing part I wasn't really ready for. How they wanted it animated, and I didn't really know what that meant. And
well, when you came to Nashville, you went to see Eric Clapton. You kind of woke up there, and then
it was years later,
right? But when you came to Nashville, did you, when we were touring together, there would be a number of times where somebody would say, "Man, what's it like?" To play this venue, the stuff that you dreamed about as a kid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I never dreamed about this as a kid.
Yeah.
I never said, I want to go to Nashville and become this thing or win awards or whatever.
Right.
I just kept working and things got better because I tried to get better and the opportunities came. Now, when you came to Nashville from Kansas, did you have a goal?
Yes.
What was
my
that?
only goal was to ride a bus, play guitar for somebody, to ride a bus, to travel, to just play, because I was looking at it at levels. I had my level back home. Then when I moved to Nashville, my level was not so much studio work, was to play around. I probably played, I know I played every bar in Printer's Alley.
Oh, sure.
And then probably every bar around the outskirts. And And the only thing I didn't play extensively was like Broadway. I never really played Broadway. I mean, I did a couple times, but it was for subbing or something
Right.
like that.
And for those that don't know, Printer's Alley, like Broadway being a long run of clubs,
Yeah.
there was probably, a dozen places inside
I'd
Printer's Alley?
say at the time when it was really kicking,
Yeah.
there were a dozen places, and I played every one of them, which is kind of cool, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because they, I got fired from all of them, had to go to each one.
Right.
It's just that's the way it worked, you know.
Sure.
You just kind of worked this circuit around there, played, you know. Now, when I played at Skull's Rainbow Room, which is where I met Tim,
Mm-hmm.
I'd been there over a year, you know,
Right.
at that one spot. But a lot of times, you know, you go into a bar and you'd either be subbing, somebody wanted to go out on the road for a month or whatever, and you'd go into that club and sub for them for a month, you know? Mm-hmm. And then there was other places, because they used to have these things called house bands.
Right.
You know, I don't think they have them anymore, hardly anywhere. But you could go and sit in a club and play I played at Rivergate Inn downtown or up in Goodlettsville. I played in that club for 3 years.
Right.
My amp never moved. You should have saw all the stuff behind it whenever
I don't want to see all the stuff behind it.
I found every pick I ever used behind that, you know.
Well, okay, so I'm assuming this happened somewhere in there because I've never heard this story.
Mm-hmm.
But I know you met McGraw
Mm-hmm.
down there.
Yeah.
But I did not know that before McGraw,
Mm-hmm.
you played with David Frizzell. I know you play with him now.
Yeah. No, I played with David before Tim.
So were you doing that when you were also playing Printer's Alley and all that other stuff?
Yeah, because it was
Because David Frizzell,
well,
Gonna Hire a Wino, #1 with You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma.
right.
Those were artist gigs,
Yeah.
shows you were doing.
And it was, and we were on a bus, and I was kind of digging it. And,
Yeah.
you know, we opened shows for like Dottie West when she was alive. And so I got to meet her, and I worked with Alan Frizzell, which is his brother,
Mm-hmm.
you know, who's an artist himself. And
then you would get back and jump back into Skulls and stuff?
I'd jump back into Skulls, or I, you know, go play. I played for a while at Live at Libby's, live on the Beaver 101, Daysville, Kentucky, you know. Yeah, which was just a huge dance hall with a steakhouse connected to it, you
Right.
know, who did live radio from there. And I worked with Willie Ackerman on that gig, who was the drummer for Hee Haw for years and years. And some of the other guys were famous, you know, Barry Chance, who played with the original Coral Reefer brand, played guitar, and I was actually playing bass
Right.
on that gig. So at the time, I was taking bass gigs and guitar gigs.
Well, you were doing that when we met.
Yeah.
When I first started playing with you, before McGraw had hits, you were still playing.
I was doing
bass
both
sometimes, and I was jumping in on stuff. And
yeah. So I mean, there was a time there that I was almost getting as many bass gigs as guitar gigs.
Yeah.
And until, you know, McGraw, he used to come into Skulls. This is when I was going in and out and in and out. And he asked me, he said, you know, you come in and sit in and sing. And, you know, nobody ever thought nothing. He was a decent singer, you know,
Right.
and better than a lot of the ones that came into Skulls that wanted to sing. And he said, hey, I'm doing this honky tonk in Delaware. And I'm like, honky tonk in Delaware? Did they have them? honky tonks in Delaware. You know,
They had one.
it's called Cheryl Sky Lounge.
Right.
I'm like, okay. And he goes, I need a guitar player for 2 weeks.
Right.
And I had been sitting there for a year at Skulls, and I'm like, yeah, I need to get out of town for, you know. And Skull, he would sit back way in the back with a black and white TV and watch his little TV and just kind of be in his own world there. And he always wore overalls
Right.
because he sold them there.
Yeah.
And so I went back to Skull and I said, hey, Skull, I'm going to take off for a couple weeks. I got a sub, and I'll be back in 2 weeks. And he looked at me and said, who are you? I've been playing there a year.
He didn't know who you
He
were.
had no clue who I was. So I said, okay, thanks a lot, man.
So how are you getting paid? Who's paying you if it's not him?
Well, it just, you go up to I don't know who the band leader was, Gene O'Neill or Johnny Barber or one of those
Okay.
cats, and they just give me my money.
They were taking care of it.
Yeah,
That's funny.
and then of course when we got paid, you know, you go out at the end and play a bunch of liar's poker and either come home with pay or no, you know. I don't know if you're familiar with liar's poker, but yeah, it's where you use a dollar bill and you use a serial number off of it to
Right.
make your hand. And
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and so we'd play that and until Gene O'Neill started cheating and like he'd look around all day. He'd go get a bunch of bills from the bank or
He'd
whatever.
look for him with good
Yeah,
good hands.
yeah. And I'm like, no, dude, this ain't the way it works. So yeah, so we started having to actually divvy out our bills.
Right, right.
Like one guy would get everybody's bill and then hand them out. But anyway,
So he didn't know who you were, so
he didn't
you
know who I
left to go
was.
to Delaware.
So it didn't matter anyway. So, you know, I left. We went there, and that's where I met John Marcus because
Right.
he was
Who was the bass player
was
with
the
us
bass
with
player.
McGraw.
right. And funny because we knew all the same people, but we had never met.
Right.
We were actually supposed to be on a session together in Hendersonville, and John couldn't find the studio. So I ended up having to play bass and guitar on that session.
Okay.
But we met and we talked all night. We knew, you know, we got along really well. And so it just, you know, Tim was like, hey, I'm supposed to have this meeting with Curb Records.
Right.
And, you know, I'm supposed to get this deal. So to make a long story short, you know, we did this thing at Nashville Shores.
Right.
We opened for Eddie Raven,
Right.
and that's when Warren Wallace and that's where we came up with the lick. We sat on a picnic table and came up with the lick for dun 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 dun
Indian
dun,
Outlaw,
dun, Indian
yeah.
Outlaw. That's where that happened, and they had put out like the dogs for the Curb people. They had their own houseboat there
Right.
because it's on the people don't know Nashville Shores. It's on the Old Hickory Lake. It's right on the lake, and it's like a water park kind of thing now.
Right.
Back then, it was kind of just where you went out and hung out and stuff, you know. But so he ended up getting signed by Mike Borchetta, who I did a lot of session work for, the Lockets and
Right.
people like that. So he ended up getting signed,
Right.
and we were like, oh, wow, this is, you know, because you hear it all the time and you go through it all the time, but you never hear really somebody say, hey, I got a meeting with Curb and then when I do, I want you to put a band together.
Right.
And you kind of go, yeah, okay, I've heard this how many times. I've been in Nashville for 6 years now, 6 or 7 years. And
So were you his? I mean, you know, you're playing guitar, you're doing all these things. Now, are you band leader yet, or is that just what's coming as he gets his deal?
That's his coming, because when it started out and we were in Cheryl's, Tim was the band leader.
Right.
He took care of everything. He, did everything. As it went to, hey, we're going to go out on tour with Joe Diffie and open for Joe Diffie.
Right.
This was after he's done his record and everything. Right. Then it got to be the band leader. Hey, find me this, and let's hire this, or we need this, and it's kind of those on me, as far as looking for people and trying to find the right people. And then
okay, so because I came in kind of in the midst of all that,
right?
So you've got the musical pieces, you've got personalities, you've got what people look like.
Right.
So it's not just the arrangements of the songs.
Right.
So there's a lot of people out there that are tasked with putting together a band.
Yeah.
You put together a band that was together for a long time. So how do you decide who you think is going to work well?
But what you got to understand is that the first band, I don't think they were even Dance Hall Doctors yet. They were just a band. There was a different keyboard player before you. There was a different bass player because John had left and went with the Remingtons.
Right.
And there was a different steel player.
Right.
So there was a whole different band. Now everybody got along. It was fine that way. The music, I thought, still had another place to go,
But with those players, had you assembled all those players at that time?
Most of them, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I couldn't tell you out of memory right now even where I found the people that I did,
right.
But it worked for a while. We even did it was called it was one of the shows that TNN had that On Stage. It was called On Stage. We did it from Daytona Beach.
I remember that. Yeah,
it's on still. You can find it on YouTube.
Yeah,
that's if you look at that band.
That was a hot son of a gun that day.
Oh God, it was. Now you were there.
I had forgotten about that show, but yeah,
that's when you first came in, right?
Yeah, I was new. Yeah,
you were new, and and people left for different reasons. Some of them quit because they just weren't making the money to survive.
Right.
And I remember when a lot of the guys were going, man, we love the gig, but we just can't survive, So I got this other gig somewhere that pays more. And I if you have a family or something like that, you don't really have a choice, And I'm telling them this is while they're cutting the Not a Moment Too Soon record.
Right.
And I'm going, don't quit now because something's going to happen.
Right. Now, why did you think that?
I just felt it. And I felt it the same way
Was it because you were hearing the songs they were working on down that basement? Or
no, I mean, I heard some of it.
I mean, they all feel like they've put their time in. It's not working.
Yeah.
You still have faith in it. You believe it's about to crack open. Why?
I do. It was just one of the things, even when we were in Delaware, I could see there was something. I mean, even though Tim was trying to sound like at the time Clint Black and Garth Brooks, and he was covering those songs, and he tried to sound like him spot on.
Right.
And he didn't really have that Tim, but I could tell he had something. Something was there, something. I mean, when you go into a club like that and it's packed every night, and you could see how the women are reacting to him. You could see how even the guys are like, I mean, here's a example. There was a fight that started in the club. Tim stopped playing, and they had moved them outside.
Yeah.
Well, all the crowd went outside to watch the fight, so Tim stopped. He went outside, got in the middle of these two guys and says, "Look, how about if I just come in and buy you both a drink? We'll just call it quits right here. Either that, let's all just start fighting." I mean, that's what he did.
Yeah.
And I'm like, either this guy's crazy or, and the guys were so taken back about it. They're like, yeah, we'll just go in and have, and
Right.
the crowd came back inside and we started playing again and everything was back to normal. And I thought, that's, to have that kind of ego,
Right.
number one, which you got to have to be an artist.
Oh yeah.
I mean, with the exception of maybe Vince Gill, every one of them's got a little ego in them, and because they got to have. And I think Tim got it from his dad, Tug, because to be a pitcher, to be intimidating and all that, you have to have that ego too, you
Sure.
know? So I think that was bred into him a little bit.
Yeah.
And not only that, his stepdad had a little ego too. He was a wild guy. I loved him. So I saw that in him then.
Right.
And then the second record came out, the first record, the first album, the Welcome to the Club.
The Tim McGraw record, right?
Yeah. And it didn't really do what he wanted it to do. But he didn't really have much control. He was first record artist in listening to everybody else.
Well, now
And-
it didn't do what they wanted it to do as a record, but that's what got us out on the Joe Diffie tour.
It did.
Right.
It did. It's what got us started. And it was it was a decent tour. It was a honky tonk attitude tour.
Yeah.
Joe did one of his biggest runs,
Yeah. And he had actually had a co-write on that. He had the single,
Right.
Walking Down Memory Lane.
Yeah, he did.
On
And
Tim's
plus-
record, which is
and
why we're out
plus
there together.
Tim and Joe Diffie had the same management at the
Right,
time,
right.
And Johnny Slate, and so that helped too. So
Yeah.
and then Joe's dad drove our bus.
Yeah. Well, so we go through that. The fact that we're both here to still speak to each other after some of that. Well, the thing about that, I mean, yes, the album didn't do anything, but it put us on a big stage. It put us on a big stage often,
Right.
so he could learn how to do what he's going to be himself. So that kind of helped.
Right.
But yeah, then some of those guys left.
Yeah, they left.
I didn't. You didn't.
I didn't. And the other guys just kind of just dropped in my lap, I mean, I didn't really have to go out and search for a piano player. I was told about, by that time it was getting easier to hire quality players, and so, because they were seeing more where, and it was the Indian Outlaw. I think it had already came out. You were already there.
I started in March before Indian Outlaw came out in January.
Right.
Yeah.
So and even when the Not a Moment Too Soon record came out, he had obligations that he had already booked.
Oh yeah.
And we were still, Don't Take the Girl went number one. We were playing in Gadsden, Alabama at a club called the Fuzzy Duck. Yeah, swear. You remember we even popped some champagne on the bus that night and then went inside the club and played the club gig.
Well, you had that went number one. Don't Take the Girl went number one. Down on the Farm went number two.
Yeah.
All that. And that's one of the things that everybody wonders how we did, 250 shows in 10 and a half months that year. And it's because I don't think there may have been one gig we did that they canceled because it got double booked or something.
Yeah.
But he didn't, to my knowledge, he didn't break any of those previous bar dates, nothing.
Sometimes we played
everything.
2 shows in 2 different places. I remember we played a county fair somewhere and then went to the Moose Lodge and played. Yeah. And I remember there was a video. Tim was laying in the back of the bus, and I go, "What you doing?" And he goes, "Nothing." He goes, "Did you hear?" And I go, "What?" "We sold the Moose Lodge smooth out." I'm like,
this is with Hit Records.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And those were the days when we were all on one bus,
Right.
And we got it's just moving. It seemed like it for like a 2 or 3 year period. It was like that. It was like we were doing like 200, 300 days a year. And I remember, I think the longest stretch that we were out was like 56 days in a row without coming back.
Yeah.
And that's back when
that's coming back for 12 hours.
Right.
16 hours.
Yeah.
That's not coming back for a week.
No,
that's coming back at all.
That's coming home, do your laundry and pack your bags and get back on the bus.
Hey, Troy Castellano here from Instruments for Education. We're at one of our first stops here today on a Friday. We're delivering some tambourines and some shakers for an elementary school classroom. We're at Liberty Elementary School. Hey guys, I'm Troy Castellano. We started Instruments for Education as a way to put instruments into the hands of kids. Sometimes we donate directly to students, sometimes to teachers, and sometimes to full classrooms in their schools. We're based out of Nashville, Tennessee, and we service the Middle Tennessee area. Since we started, we've reached over 100 schools and donated over 500 instruments. If you'd like to make a request for an instrument, or you have an instrument to donate, or would like to contribute financially, visit our website at instrumentsforeducation.org. Thanks for supporting us, and thanks for helping keep music alive.
So we put all that together. We start that craziness of a ride,
right,
where we're gone all the time.
Yeah,
and we wind up with people that don't want to leave, which is a win.
Yeah.
We get to the point where you're not only the band leader,
right,
but then he makes the move to where we're going to start recording.
Yeah. So.
And you're going to co-produce.
Yeah.
Now, are you prepared for that, or is that just a
that came?
Crap! I gotta.
It came completely out of left field for me. And we were playing. I had owned a club in Nashville for a while called the Broken Spoke.
Right.
And we played there a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it was a night that Tim had came out to the club. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if it was a after party when we played Bridgestone Arena. I'm not sure what night it was, but he had taken me.
You mean from New Year's Eve?
It may have been.
Well, we played New Year's Eve of the millennium at Bridgestone, but that would have been the year before that.
This would have been in 2001.
Right.
1 or 2.
Okay. Well, the record came out in 2.
So yeah. 2001 maybe.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. But he was at the club for some reason.
Yeah.
He took me out back. He said, "Come outside, I want to talk to you." And he goes, I want to get the sound that we're getting live on record. I'm thinking about cutting a Dance Hall Doctor record. And I said, well, that's cool. He goes, but I want you to co-produce it with me and Byron. Because I think that'll help get that sound, and then because there's going to be a lot of rehearsing involved and a lot that you're going to have to take care of. And I said, okay. I said, well, here's my deal with it. I've known you for, 13, 14 years now. I don't want you to do it as a token thing to say, I'm throwing you a bone. Mm-hmm. I want to actually work and learn and if this is, because this may be another avenue for me down the line. And he said, oh, you'll work. And I said, what about James Stroud, who was always Tim's? He goes, well, he'll just have to wait till the next, and I start he'll understand. Mm-hmm. And he kind of understood.
Yeah.
But so I went into that thinking.
Now, James had been the co-producer for Gallimore.
Right, with Tim's others.
For those other preceding records.
Yeah, and he actually played drums on some of them. And
so Tim was basically feeling like the addition of you and the absence of James would make a better combination for that.
For that Dance Hall Doctor thing,
Yeah. Now, was he thinking this was a one-off at that time?
I think we all were.
Yeah.
I think we all were. I think I was.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be just like a big specialty,
right?
Thing.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a great idea. Mm-hmm. But as a producer, I had produced some other independent things with Mike Borchetta and all that, but nothing to the extent of what was happening now.
Right.
And I'm thinking, okay, how do I don't really know what a producer really does, other than coordinates things and keeps things rolling.
Right.
And I'm not involved in finding songs and all that, or finding the right players for the right songs. We got these players and they got to find the right songs for Tim and us, and that was all up to Byron and Missy Gallimore, his wife, they've.
Well,
and,
I think,
and the Warren brothers.
Yeah, well, yeah, they were writing and all that stuff. But Tim, honestly, I think the thing that was as important as anything else when that was going on was the Broken Spoke. Yeah, because and I know that wasn't everybody, right? But it was. Me and you and a couple of others.
We played about
every night.
Yeah, me and you
all the time.
Me and you and maybe I don't know who else was there.
And guys would pop in.
Me and you were there.
Some of the guys would show. Some of the guys would show up because we would rehearse all day long on those songs. Yeah, and then playing every night just meant I was sharp and everything was working and. We were just playing and playing and playing.
The Broken Spoke was a great thing because it kept us as a part of a band, it kept us playing even when Tim was off, and we're not on the road, we're playing, and it was like we were living, music is all it was all the time. And
so do you remember when we were working on those songs and producing, for you at that time was a lot of arranging. Right. Arranging those songs and stuff. Now, is there anything from that first record that, as a guitar player, that you kind of recognize as, oh, that's a signature thing that I came up with that was really awesome? Because I remember the thing I remember is the piano part on Ticking Away.
Ticking Away.
Because you came over and it was like, okay, we've got this demo. There's no piano on the song. We've got to have a clock. Yeah. Jeff, make a clock.
Make a clock. Yeah.
I don't know. What am I making a clock?
Yeah.
But we came up with that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you did.
Is there a guitar thing that you just something comes to mind with all that?
There was almost, especially on some of the songs, like what was the song that the Eagles, Timothy B. Schmidt and Glenn Fry sang?
Illegal.
Illegal.
I think. Wasn't it
Don
illegal?
Henley. Yeah, illegal.
Yeah.
There was a lot of songs like that had specific guitar parts in it that I had come up with the basic, like, you know, or maybe even a part of that was on the demo, you know, that little line there, then how do you make that cooler? And then you come up with your own line. And what a lot of it was actually me and Denny Hemmingson, the steel player, played guitar.
Yeah.
Still with Tim. It was me and him sitting there across from each other playing these lines, and he's playing a harmony, or figuring out a harmony to what I'm playing, and then how to end this, and then how to make, okay, let's make the bridge part a little different, you know, this part here, guitar needs to be, it doesn't need to play the same thing all the time.
Right.
So let's make this a little different, you know, and there was a lot of that. There was a Red Ragtop when we did those lines together. I mean, there was a lot of me coming up with a basic line and then going to Danny and saying, wouldn't it be cool if you put a harmony to this? And then we'd work out the lines. But it was, for the first record, producing for me was all a learning thing. It was sitting there watching Byron, how he worked, you know, what he did. Even though he was out of his Nashville element, because we were in New York cutting, you could still watch how he does things, you know, how, you know, why he would say, when I thought a take that we did like was really good, why he would say, let's get one more, boys, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, well, that was great, you know?
Right.
Well, sometimes it was, but they always want that second or third or fourth or fifth or 20th.
Right.
You know, they always want that last one just in case some kind of magic comes down from the heavens and hits them some way, you know? But a lot of times it was me not, okay, why is this? Why did he do this?
Right.
Why did, and for the first record, that was pretty much me. And because I was so worried about playing the guitar parts and putting good guitar parts, good guitar lines, and good solid guitar in there, that, well, an example is we didn't cut any lead guitars in Alaire the first time. With the exception of maybe a real good man, that line, because it drove the song.
Right.
But anything that didn't drive the song guitar-wise, like sweeteners and fills and all that, was done at Soundstage back in Nashville when we got home.
Yeah.
And it consisted of an engineer. It wasn't Eric. It was the
Jillian?
No, Jillian wasn't there. It was the other guy, the long-haired guy. I can't remember his name, but anyway, it was him, John Prestia, the guitar tech, Denny, and me sitting in that studio from 10 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night, just cutting guitars and steel. And Byron wasn't even there for the whole thing, except for one time. And I'm just doing it it's thinking, well, okay, let's cut a lot of guitars, because it's easier to pull out a guitar and say, okay, we don't need that, than it is to go back and add them.
Right.
So I'm thinking cutting everything in the God's green earth in there, like an Outlaws record or something, and of course, I'm not thinking about having to play any of this live either. So,
Right.
There's 8 guitars on, what's the song? Stood by the river, wonder what I did. Shoot, I can't remember. Anyway, it's
I'm not getting there.
I know, man. I've lost that. I burnt that memory bank. But anyway, I put there's 8 guitars on there.
Yeah.
No way you could ever play it live, and make it sound like it did on the record with 2 guitars with me and Denny playing it. But
Yeah.
we did anyway. But
Sing Me Home?
Sing Me Home. Yeah, there's 8 guitars
Yeah.
playing the lines on there.
Yeah.
Not thinking, okay, well, we got to probably going to play this live, but you don't think about that when you're putting it down. You're just going, well, they won't use all these. Well, they did.
Yeah.
And I remember Byron come in there one time, and I was playing solo for Who Were They?
Mm-hmm.
And he stood there for a while, for about 10 minutes, and I finally put the guitar down, and I was like, okay, I go, how you think it's going, Byron? Because I know they're listening to what we're doing every
Right.
day, and he goes, "Oh, Darroni," that's what he called it. He said, "Just keep doing what you're doing. Everything's fine." And I was like, whew.
Yeah.
So I just keep doing what I'm doing. And he left, and we ended up being there another 3 days and cutting more guitars. And the worst one was Who Are They? Because I played 3 solos to it. The guy, I was like, I'm kind of happy with number 2, but I think there's one better in me. He goes, hold on a second. And of course, with Pro Tools, you can cut and splice. So he cuts and splices this immaculate guitar solo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's great. Not realizing it's
You gotta play
physically impossible for me to play this on stage. But I ended up doing some facsimile of it
Right.
on stage. But there was no way I could physically play what he put together, My fingers wouldn't reach like that,
That's funny.
because they don't think like that. They just think,
Yeah.
hey, this sounds cool,
Well, so I should know the answer to this question because I've been to your place, forever.
Mhm.
Having done all of that
Yeah,
and played all those guitar parts
Yeah.
and done all those records,
yeah.
do you have a trophy shelf wall?
I
Trunk?
have a.
What do you have?
I have a roll top desk that has my computer on it,
Yeah.
and I have my CMA and my ACM, and I think a couple different publishing that I got from publishing
Yeah.
stuff, and that's about it. I got my pewter cups are somewhere. I'm not really sure where they're.
So I was.
and-
It was so funny because I was watching something on the internet where you won an album of the year thing,
Yeah,
and you and Tim and Gallimore were all on stage accepting the award. Josh Grayson presented it, who I wound up working with for about a year
oh wow.
later on. Funny how all those people keep circling back around. I still
What was
see it.
that? What was that on the
award?
American Music Awards?
What was the
or-
award? Oh, see, now you're going to test me. I think I wrote it down.
Well, I know we on the ACMs it was single of the year.
It was single of the year. That's
Yeah.
right. For ACMs, and that was
Yeah.
for Live Like You Were Dying.
That was in Vegas,
and that
yeah.
was from Grayson.
right.
And I was like, what? Everybody's going to assume that you either dreamed of making that award or it's backlit somewhere? I mean, what?
No.
Did that move some kind of needle?
No.
Does it keep papers from blowing off your
know,
desk?
I'm going to tell you a story, and I think I've told you this story. When I won the CMAs in Nashville, I had no idea we were going to win.
Right.
I had no idea I would even, if we did win, go up on stage, And then I had no idea they would ever make me talk.
Right.
Because of Tim and Byron being there. And
Sure.
Usually the music starts after the artist does his thing. So I get up there and Tim's like, come on. So I finally get up on stage and I'm up there and Tim says his thing and he looks at me and goes, go ahead. And I look at Byron and go ahead, Byron. And he goes, no, you go. And I'm like, oh God, So all I can think of is thanking my mom and my family and my kids.
And your boys?
No.
Oh,
see, that's the whole thing. So I think the writers, great song. Thank you, radio. And I've been riding the bus with this guy for a long time. And, walk off stage, music starts, walk off stage. Tim hands me the envelope that he goes, you might want to keep that they read the winning thing off of. I said, yeah, thanks. And he goes, you forgot to thank the band. And I went, oh my God. And I'm thinking, he goes, you're going to hear some crap from this. And I said, oh yeah, I fully expected. So the first thing I did, they took us backstage. And what the press thing is, and you do your little press thing and you hold your award. And then they say, well, here's the box for it. We'll take it and we'll put the name on it and mail it to you. And I said, no, I'll take it with me. You mail me the name tag and I'll stick it on there.
Yeah.
So I'm carrying it back out into the crowd with me like an idiot, Hey, I'm like, Mike Myers and Dana Carvey.
Oh yeah, when they've got their
their
laminates
on. I'm going, hey.
Yeah.
And so I went to the bus to get my deserves,
Sure.
And the first thing, one of the guys said, man, that's cool that you won that. And he goes, I noticed you didn't really thank us on it though, did you? And I'm like, man, I'm sorry. I said I was so nervous. I tried, and of course it doesn't help. When my 8 buddies aren't going to let up on me,
No.
So I caught it for a good while. And so when I won the ACM, I went up on stage. And if you'll remember, Dean Brown wasn't there because they were having a fiddle player. They were having a baby.
Yeah.
And so the first thing I want to do is thank the dance hall doctors because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have won any of this.
That's funny.
And for Dean Brown at home, he's having a baby. I want to say that something about that. I didn't even thank the songwriters that night. I just thanked my family and the dance hall doctors.
That's
funny. I almost said it twice. And I want to make sure that I thank the dance hall doctors, I was like, I made up for it on that anyway.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. And then we won album of the year for American Music
Awards, yeah.
But they don't give a producer one of those for the, which is kind of, the one I really wanted was the Grammy. Because that would be the, I really thought we'd win it that year.
Yeah.
Not thinking Loretta Lynn, we were huge, we sold 643,000 units the first week, I'm thinking, who's gonna, touch that? But the Grammys are different. They don't really go by album sales, you know? So I remember standing on stage where they stuck me, and the lights were down and it was dark, and I'm going, I'm going to win a Grammy, and this is going to be awesome, Grammy. I'm thinking about getting a chain and putting it around my neck. Anyway, and they said Loretta Lynn for her record she did with, who was the guy, the rock and roll guy.
Jack White.
Jack White. Yeah. That was that year.
Yeah, from the White Stripes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you go, deflate. Well, it is Loretta Lynn. I mean, how you gonna? It's like when we lost the album of the year to Johnny Cash.
Yep.
For his Hurt album.
Yep.
You can't. If you got to lose, something.
Sure.
That's
sure.
I'm all for that, but that was. I mean, just to be nominated. I think I was nominated 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
On different years. I mean, Live Like You Were Dying was a life changer.
Oh yeah.
That was pretty much the life changer for me because that was the song that I won both the awards on. That was the songs where people, that were, whether it was newspapers or magazines or online stuff, were interviewing me for, and why I was, called over to East Nashville to do a interview.
Sure.
Just out, and the interview that I think of the most is when we were in Atlanta, and the Tuohys came out off because Tim did the Blind Side.
Yeah.
And remember, CNN was there, and the lady, the
Michael Orr's adopted family.
Yeah. And so, but the lady from CNN,
right,
was like the really popular woman there. I can't remember her name either, but she was beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, she was like top any Fox one they got now. And she was beautiful. And we were sitting in a room that was like 8 by 8.
Right.
And she's like sitting right next to me. And they're wanting to interview me.
Right.
About the record and all that. And whenever I was talking to her, I'd always look down. Well, we did this and we worked really hard, or I'd look around, and she goes, "You can look at me sometimes like we're talking together, like me and you are talking now."
Yeah.
And I go, "I can't." I said, "You're a little like you're too pretty." I'm finding myself going, And she goes, "Well, that's okay. Just look at me sometimes."
Yeah.
Okay. So
That's
things
funny.
like that were happening, and it was still though like, okay, because I mean, it wasn't long before when we did Dance Hall Doctor's record, we were working on music for Live Like You Were Dying.
Right. Yeah.
Then after that, it was like Let It Go came right after that, and then Southern Voice, So it was like,
and we had those extra tracks for Reflected in between there. We did the stuff for Flicka.
Flicka, and we did. They were talking about doing a Dance Hall Doctor with guest records. We were doing stuff for that.
Yeah.
I mean, so there was a lot going on. That's why I got out of the bar business. Couldn't take both, know. But it just seems like you didn't really have time to reflect on.
Right.
Check it out, dudes. It was more like, okay, let's do. I want to win another one. I want to do some more and do. A lot of that was rehearsal,
Sure.
Out at the farm. When we'd go in and cut those records, we kind of, with the exception of I'd say 5 or 6 of the ones that just came in out of the blue, like Casey Beathard brought in fries. Do you want fries with that? and we cut it right there on the
Oh, yeah.
spur, you know.
Yeah.
Come up with a guitar line for this intro. Okay, okay, perfect. Let's cut it, and that was at Blackbird. We did that, and
Well, do you think, one of the things I certainly never thought of it at the time, but, you've got all the TV shows and stuff now that people are singing. And of course, Zach Stone, who I've worked with in town, he has the story about singing Live Like You Were Dying, one of his first performances when he was 12 at the Opry in Grapevine, Texas, I think. I was just watching a show called New Kind of Country, which is another one of those American Idol type things that's on Apple Music or Apple Plus, whatever the TV thing is. And there's a girl on that show, and the judges are Mickey Guyton and a couple others. And one of the artists on that show released a cover version of Live Like You're Dying this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's like
Cha-ching,
those songs that we played on.
Let's hope it's a hit.
I hope. You hope.
Yeah.
It's just, I didn't really think we were doing that at the time. And whatever role I played in it, was not the same as the writers and stuff, but still, it's like, wow, those things are still around.
Yeah.
They're still around. It's cool.
I saw somewhere where Tim is right now at 90 million sold worldwide. And I don't know how that works as far as streaming, if they call that a unit now or whatever, because when we did our thing, it was CDs,
Sure.
we worried about CDs because you get a piece of the CD.
Right.
And then the digital thing kind of started in there, it's amazing that you go out and play with what I think the best compliment is probably when you go out and play with some of these young guys like Jonathan over here, and they find out who you are one way or another, and the respect that they give you.
You get that from Jonathan?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
see, I never get that.
Yeah. He washed my cat for me. No, I mean, you do. You get it, and they want to hear. They want to hear the stories. They want to, and I've got a million of them. And I'm terrible about saying every one of them, but I dig that. I don't dig the fact that I'm not young enough to get out there and run with those guys anymore.
Right.
But it's almost like you're the World War II vet sitting on the porch, and you got the young kids, and you're telling them about war stories. You know? I like that. Whether it feeds my ego a little bit, I don't care. But it's nice to know that, they may not know who John Connolly is, or Keith Whitley or somebody like that, but they know Live Like You Were Dying, and they may not even know Tim McGraw, but they know that song. They may not even put together that It's Your Love Is Faith in Tim, that he's married to Faith Hill. They may not put all that together, but and in the same, to be fair, I don't know. I mean, Jelly Roll, I dig. I heard one of his songs, that song about Jesus, about I talk to Jesus or when I need to or whatever, something like that. And I think it's like killer, you know. And here's what I got to say about that. Now, 10, 15 years ago, maybe 20, me and Dave, who is our percussion player, right, who is a big guy. Big guy. He's not Jelly Roll big, but he's a big guy.
Right.
Well, in those days, big guys weren't allowed on. There wasn't no big guys in country music.
Right.
You know? They were more Tim looking, you know, Clint Black looking, slick, you know, cowboy hat.
Yeah.
So we actually started the fat guy movement. Me and him writing our own songs and singing them. And nobody wanted us to because we were fat. And luckily Tim didn't care, you know. But at one time, Tim did say, look, if you lose 80 pounds, I'll buy you a bass boat and a truck to pull it. Well, I lost 80 pounds, but I never got the...
Didn't happen.
No, it didn't happen. I think he gave that hook to Chris Jensen, you know.
Yeah.
So... I think that's how that worked out. But so now you got, you know, Chris Stapleton, who's a big guy, Luke Combs, big guy, Jelly Roll, you know, probably a couple other ones I don't know about.
So what you're saying is y'all were the trailblazers.
We were the trailblazers of the fat guy in country music. So everybody knows that right now. We were the trailblazers of it.
Okay,
and we're keeping up the tradition.
Okay, well, you were just talking about, you know, you and Dave writing songs and stuff.
Right, we did. And, we wrote a lot,
and we had, you know, one of the things when we were talking about doing this was the fact that most people perform on the podcast.
Right.
So you were like, "Hey, I'm down," and you brought in a song.
I did.
So, and because you get respect from Jonathan,
right?
He played on it.
Exactly.
So we're going to show that, and then I want you to tell us about that song.
Okay.
So,
all right.
What's the name of it?
It's called "I Tried."
I Tried. Mm-hmm. So this is Darran Smith with "I Tried."
Been a long, hard summer. Don't know how I made it through. Seems like I spent all my time trying to get to you. I guess that I should face the fact that you're really gone. But it's a constant battle every day just to get along. And I tried everything I could to change your mind. The more I try, the more I find. Can't make someone do what they don't want to do. Say hello to goodbye, but I tried. How the boys keep saying, "Ah, brother, you'll be fine." Just like an old memory, she'll fade away in time. The things we did, the plans we made, dreams that won't come true, burning in my mind. here without you. And I did everything I could to change your mind. The more I try, the more I find. Can't make someone do what they don't want to do. Say hello to goodbye, but I tried. I tried to talk, tried to cry, tried to walk, tried to die. And I did everything I could to change your mind. The more I try, the more I find. Can't make someone do what they don't want to do. Say hello to goodbye, but I tried. I said hello to goodbye, and God knows I tried. I tried.
So you were initially kind of skeptical about doing this.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know what happened is that I'm a spurt writer.
Yeah.
I may go a year without writing a song, and then all of a sudden I pop out 8 songs in 2 days.
Yeah.
It's just really weird. And that's what happened with this song. I started out with this song that was kind of just quirky and funny about me being old and not caring about the modern world. Mm-hmm. And, and it kind of was funny, and it's a little something that would never ever get cut,
Right.
It's more for me, and then, I started writing a little more, and I started writing another song. And what I would do is, because I don't consider myself a real singer, I would send them to Dave, because he's the singer of the two of us.
Right.
And I would send the guitar parts there, and he would sing, and we would just do guitar vocal to have a little demo to keep in our publishing. And so this song actually came out of that bunch.
Okay.
It was, I thought, the reason I sang it on here is I thought it was the best one for my vocal, that was easiest for me to sing.
Right.
The song, I just had this idea of somebody that was in love with this girl, and and she's not really into him, and he's trying everything he can do. I think I got the idea. I was laying in bed one night watching this comedy classics they have on MeTV.
Right.
And it was the one where Spanky and Alfalfa try to vow for Darla's attentions.
Yeah.
And they're like doing different stuff like push-ups and sit-ups and all this, and they're trying everything they can do to get her to go with one of them, and make the other one look bad. And
right.
I'm thinking, well, how can I, that would be a cool song. Like, I tried,
Mm-hmm.
So he's trying everything he can do to change her mind and everything, but everything he tries is not working. And finally, kind of like at the end of the R Gang thing, they both walk off, and she ends up with this other kid that's,
right.
And they kind of are off on their own, and they realize, well, you can't make someone do what they don't want to do, I guess,
Right.
So, but we tried anyway.
Yeah.
But hey, we tried, kind of like that. It's how it was written,
Yeah.
and then, and I don't want anybody to think on the part where it says, I tried to walk, tried to cry, tried to talk, tried to die.
Yeah.
That means he like going to kill himself or
Right,
anything.
right.
It was just mean he had to kill a little bit of his feelings for her to get along, to get along with himself.
Right. Right.
Not to get heavy on anybody, but that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's where I got it. So I got it from Spanky and Alfalfa. It's kind of weird. But
have you ever done an arrangement or anything like that? Because, I mean, when I was like, what if we did this with just like a piano fiddle thing?
I've always just did it with a guitar, because that's what I play. And that I'm a terrible piano player. But I think if I would have wrote it, and if I was a piano player like you, and I had one there, I probably would have wrote it on piano.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was thinking about when I wasn't really thinking about it as far as, because this is what I got, let's leave it. Let's think about playing it on guitar. But when you suggested, hey, what do you think about just piano and fiddle? I thought, that's really cool, and I was really happy with the way it came out. Other than probably, I wish I would have more. I'm such a fan of Steve Earle and Springsteen, and the way they write down to earth and the way they sing is like real natural. They got like Steve Earle's got that natural Texas twang,
right?
That I'm not going to get from Kansas, and that's kind of the way I heard that song, and that was the closest I could get to that,
Well,
And other than that, I was real happy. As far as the, doing it with piano and fiddle, I thought that was the best choice for it then.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I thought it was way cool.
When I got the track back, I was like, I gotta send it to D.
Yeah,
make sure that he's digging it because I thought it was cool.
And I did it because Dave didn't write it either. So a lot of songs me and Dave write,
Yeah.
And even if I write something and then he comes back and does a vocal, he usually takes it to another place that I wrote it. And so it becomes a co-write to me.
Right.
Even though if he didn't write a word, the way he took it and went with it and made it his own, and it makes it a co-write, So,
well, I know y'all have written, I'm assuming still writing a lot together.
Yeah.
And then Dave is your other hillbilly has-beens buddy.
That's right.
Hillbilly Has-Beens is the podcast that you guys started when everything kind of got quiet for a while.
Yeah, when the big C happened.
Yeah.
And we figured out how with a couple laptops we could talk to each other.
Yeah.
And see each other.
Yeah.
And we started talking about this. We had talked about this podcast for, I guess, a year almost.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know, radio voice. And, he goes, it doesn't matter, we'll just talk about things that happen on the road that we can talk about, And I said, well, it'd be cool to have like people on there, different people on there, and that'd be cool if we could figure out how to do that. Cause we don't know what we're doing, we're just, and actually we infringed on copyrights and we did all kinds of stuff. Did
you get in trouble?
No, nobody ever said anything. That song that the Warren Brothers wrote, Alligator Boots, we cut it.
Yeah.
Well, we somewhere Dave had a track of that with just the music.
Yeah.
So we cut a piece of that. That was our intro music.
Okay.
So we just stole it from the Warren Brothers, and they don't even know it, I guess. They haven't said anything.
No.
So we figured if we played on it, it's kind of ours too. So we just used it. And I mean, we we just talked about the podcast. Just talks about just different things that we kind of took it as, okay, here's celebrities, sports. We kind of took a different theme every time, and we just talked about things that happened.
Right.
And then
you played some songs.
Played some songs on there. We put our originals on there because where else? But sometimes we did other people's stuff on there. Well, Zach was Zach Stone was on.
He
was on there, and we played his new song. And so, I mean, it was just a way of, I think, breaking boredom at the time, and finding out, wow, we got some pretty good stories here, once we start thinking it. And I think we did 30 episodes.
Okay.
Of that.
Well, you did two seasons.
Yeah, two seasons.
Okay.
We did 15, I think, a piece or close to that. And we didn't know. Really, the season thing happened when we wanted to take a couple weeks off. And so we took a couple weeks off and then came back with season 2, like it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And, there was I'll tell you, the one that got the most plays was we put on there how we got canned.
Okay.
From Tim. Okay. So everybody's like gonna at least listen to the first part of it,
Sure.
But when they find out, oh, this ain't no big dirt story,
Right.
And so that was our biggest one. So you got to go listen to it. Actually, it's still on Apple. It's still on Google Play. It's still on, every format that you can think of.
Right.
That some of them I don't even know. It's out there, Spotify. It's on Spotify,
Okay.
We haven't hit that million mark yet.
Not yet.
No, we're closer to 0 than we are to 1 million. Let's put it that way.
Well, million's got a lot of zeros in it, so you're on your way.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're I'd say we're well under 1,000. No, I mean, I don't know what we are. I don't look at it, but
well, if people are looking for it, it's you spell has-beens. Hillbilly is right. Has-beens is
right.
with 2 Z's.
Hillbilly is, and I don't know why we did has-beens that way, because people
Can't find
it. It's really stupid. Although, if you spell it right, if you spell it right, if you spell it what is has-been? What is the right way?
Has-beens, Has
Yeah.
-BEENS.
Okay, it's nothing like that.
Yeah, nothing like that.
So if you was to spell it like that, our name probably wouldn't come up.
Yeah.
But if you spell it HAZBEEEZ, BENZ, yeah, BENZ, then we're the first one that comes up in the Google search.
Okay.
Because we're the only ones alive that would ever spell it like that. And so, and the same way with our Facebook page, I mean, it actually takes me going to my page to put up a link to my Facebook has-beens the page, so that way they know how to spell it, and because nobody, we have to pound that spelling into the head of people, or we did. So we stopped. I'll tell you why we stopped.
You stopped doing the podcast?
We stopped doing the podcast over a year ago because I got really sick. And I don't know if you've ever been this sick, but I had an infection that was in my foot, and I had my toes removed and all that. And I was so sick with the infection that when I would set up to look at my laptop to edit the last episode we did, I couldn't do it. It made me so nauseous that I had to lay back down. So I thought, I need to take a break from this a while. So, but we have been talking about making a comeback.
Drum roll.
I'm not sure when it's going to happen or if it's going to happen, because after we did 30 episodes, I thought we kind of ran out of stories, you know? things to talk about. But then after a year, we started talking about more stuff, and we're like, hey, there's like maybe 10 more episodes here, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like we'd be talking about something, and me and David talk about it for an hour and laugh, we'd hoot about it. And we'd like, that's an episode right there, you know?
Right.
So we found out there's more in us. So I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but I think this time we're going to do it a little different, because we can. Is that, you know, we may do it a once every 2 week thing, you know, release, and actually me and him be in the same room talking to each other, because I mean, it was funny on there, but it lacked that, you know, being in the same, like we're talking right here.
Sure. Yeah.
It lacked that. And so I think that might be a different kind of take on things too, you know, and we might go ahead and go ahead and YouTube it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you can do that.
Yeah.
Where the video's on there too. So if they want to go listen to the video, the podcast, or see the video,
Mm-hmm.
then they can do that. So I'm not sure how to do all that yet,
You got time.
but I'll probably be
got
calling
time to
you to
figure it
go, what I do, Jeff? You know,
I'll do what I can do. First thing I can do is make sure that Hillbilly Has-Beens is on the screen when they watch this.
oh,
So that way
can you
they'll
spell it?
spell it right.
Can you spell it
I'll
our way?
Google it until I find it. I'll do it then.
I appreciate it. But you know, it may come, it may not, but be looking.
We'll be looking.
We'll be looking.
We'll be paying attention. We'll let them know.
And you know, hopefully me and you'll still have some gigs to go, and you know,
We will.
and here and there, and
I'm ready to go.
me too. Well, you know, if anybody's looking for a guitar player, you know, I'm just hanging around the house. Do a lot of fishing now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my thing. I'm a fisherman now.
Okay. Well, I'm not.
And well, if you ever want to go, I'll take you down to the bank.
You're my hookup.
I'll tell you what, it's real easy.
Yeah.
It's you just throw a line out there and you kick back in your lawn chair.
What if you catch something? You got to clean it.
Well, you got it. No, you throw it back.
Oh, okay.
I throw it back. It's just the whole idea of catching them, you know, that power over fish. You know, I've got some pretty good
Fish
big
stories.
fish. Yeah, I got a couple. You know, I tried to take pictures of all of them so everybody will believe me. You know, even the little ones.
Yeah.
The first fish I ever caught was this big. I swear.
Hold it way
have
out in front of you towards the camera, and it'll look bigger.
Is that true?
That's what you do.
Okay.
Hold the fish way out here,
Yeah.
and it'll look like you got.
I was holding it like this, so I have to probably. I missed out on that one. But yeah, that's my deal now, and it's getting a little cold now to fish. But I went out
Well,
there.
that's okay. You've got a new song to promote now.
I do.
Yeah.
Gone fishing.
This one, no, the song that we just put together.
Well, yeah. I don't even. I just, you know, I used to really want to get a cut, you know, and all that. And yeah, I think I came close with Tim maybe twice or 3 times, you know, that he was really hot on something. I think picked a hell of a time to go crazy that I wrote with the Warren Brothers and who's their buddy?
Lance
Miller. And when we cut that with Tim actually in studio, and I'm thinking, yes, maybe this time after all these years of playing him our songs, you know, and even writing a song that he came up with the hook, you know, we're thinking we got it cut. Nah. Then Lance cut it on his record. And so that Tim, you know how he is. He kind of let Lance do his thing, you know.
Sure.
And so didn't get it there, you know. But there was a couple close ones that he would always say, play that song, that Let's Keep Doing song. Or,
Right.
You know, and we're thinking, oh, if he really likes it this much, well. But then you got so many great writers in Nashville that pop him songs, the best writers. It's unless you're working for Sony Tree writing every day like Tim Nichols and Craig Wiseman and
Right.
and you know some of these other guys, Casey Beathard, and you know they're the ones that get the first pick around. Yeah, and then you got the Warren Brothers just nailing.
Sure.
The Warren Brothers did it cool though. They're like, "Hey Tim, let's go bird hunting," and they go bird hunting. And they get in the truck and they go, "Hey, we want to play something,"
Yeah.
you know. And Tim hears it, and if he likes it, they're in. You know. Then they play him a couple more while they're bird hunting.
Yeah.
You know, and so they know how to work it.
Well,
You
you
know.
just got to take him fishing then.
Plus, you got to be a great writer, and they are. You know, if I could take him fishing, I could play him a couple things.
There you go.
It's gonna be kind of funny with him carrying the poles and me carrying the guitar out there, but I'd do it. You know? Well, what are you doing with that guitar? Oh, this is what I do when I go fishing. I play guitar and I fish. Don't worry about it. Just be cool.
It's funny.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
All right,
What else
D.
you want to talk about?
Nothing. We're done. We've
We're
reached
done?
the end.
Oh, wow. It feels like there's so much more I could say,
Well, I'm sure there is.
but I can't think of it right now.
We'll have to do it again.
We could do a part 2.
I'm sure we could.
Actually, let's do a part 2.
Let's. This will be the entire third season of Hillbilly Has-Beens.
Yeah. They could be.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man. Love you, dude.
Love you too. And that is it for our episode with Darran Smith. Darran, thanks for swinging by to walk through some of those adventures with me. And I especially appreciate you sharing a song of your own with us. If you are not following McMahon on Keys, I want to encourage you to subscribe. We have a lot of content that we're going to be sharing from the Country Radio Seminar in Nashville with my co-host, Maddie True. And we also have a number of other episodes that we're going to be dropping weekly. So follow along. As for this episode, I want to thank Ryan Baker for jumping in and pinch hitting for Tommy Leland and Jonathan Warren in helping us capture this audio so Jonathan could jump on fiddle and play with Darran. Thank you, Tommy, for engineering the music for us, and for Randy Allen for putting together the video once again. And thank you guys for following along. Until next time, this is McMahon on Keys.